The parents of my golden child, twin, sided with him when he cheated on me with my girlfriend. After he outed me, my homophobic parents kicked me out. Disowning me and calling me a F my kidney has now become a matter of life and death to them, as they are now demanding I give it to their son. Therefore, I went NC after giving them an ultimatum. The story was directed here, so I figured this was my revenge. There are obvious reasons to cast fake names. I, Ryan, and my twin brother Sebastian have never ever been close. In fact, he made life hell growing up, and my parents didn't help by playing favorites, getting him better stuff on our birthday, only going to see films he liked at the cinema, and giving him extra money for housework despite us doing the same amount of work. He would always put me down, belittle me, bully me with his friends at school, break my stuff, and then blame me, which was just a pain in general growing up. The only people I knew to rely on were my older sister Jane, my cousin Kai, and my best friend Isaac, who all knew what an awful person my brother was. Anyway, cut to when I was 17, and I had my first girlfriend, someone I loved very much. We didn't have sex because she wanted to wait until her 18th birthday to lose her virginity. But it turns out that she was having an affair with my brother, behind my back for half the time we were together, and only got caught when it was revealed she was pregnant. I was crushed. She knew how much I hated my brother, and she saw some of the awful things he did to me, but she still went and did that. Cheating is bad enough, but to do it with him of all people. I punched him in the face, broke his nose, and made him lose a tooth, but according to my parents, I'm the one in the wrong. And now we have to help this girl who is carrying my brother's child, and have to help support them. My brother then said he had no intention of being a father and told my girlfriend to get an abortion. She then ran out of town, and I never saw her again. I don't know if she had the baby or aborted. All I know is that she was gone, and my folks were still praising my brother as the golden child. I was still the black sheep and failure as usual. The year goes by, and I and my brother still despise each other. But I started dating again. It was a long time, but I found a boy I liked. I am bisexual, and this new guy, Daniel, I met at college, caught my eye. He was deaf, and I studied sign language out of boredom. So we got talking, and things just seemed to click. We date, fall in love, and I bring him to my friend Isaac's party to introduce him to friends. All feels great at this point. The only one who knew I was bi was Isaac. But one day, while walking into a cinema holding my boyfriend's hand, I bumped into my evil twin. He points, laughs, and makes some homophobic remarks. I tell him to go F himself, and I go see a movie with my arm around my boyfriend. When I got home after dropping my boyfriend off, I knew I'd be facing something. As I walked through the front door, I saw both my parents on the sofa, and my mother was crying about how on earth she could have given birth to someone so disgusting. Was it too much to hope she saw the light and was talking about my brother? But nope, she was talking about me and how I'm a stain on our family's name. My father gets up to yell at me and spout homophobic remarks and slurs. At this point, I see my brother up the stairs with a sating grin on his face. He then comes down and says he's uncomfortable sharing a room with AFN. And my folks kick me out there and then with what little clothes and money I had. I went to Isaac's house and his family took me in, where I stayed for 6 months, actually experiencing familial love and affection. Isaac's mother and stepfather are now what I consider my own parents. Eventually, me, Daniel, and Isaac all get a 2-bedroom flat together. And all is well for the time being. So cut to December last year. Me and my boyfriend, now husband, Daniel, are married. Isaac was my best man. My sister and cousin Kai walked me down the aisle. I have a brilliant job in graphic design, my own house by the sea, and life has never been better. However, I got a call from my sister that my brother was in the hospital. I hadn't thought about him that much over the 9 period since I was kicked out, but being reminded of his existence brought up a lot of painful memories for me. I was told by my sister that Sebastian wanted to see me and that it was urgent, so I went to the hospital he was in and met my sister outside the front entrance. I asked her what this was all about, but she didn't tell me and said that I needed to ask my twin, so I arrive at where my brother is, who has my parents by his side, and my folks actually look happy to see me as if what they did to me hadn't happened. Sebastian also looked really pleased to see me. it's safe to say something was off. Eventually, I asked what's going on and why I'm even here. And my brother tells the family to leave us two alone. He looks so weak as before. He used to intimidate me so much. He told me that he was dying from kidney failure and had been for the past few years. But now that he didn't have long left, I knew immediately where this was going. He then said he always regretted that we never got along. At which point I told him no. He looked confused and asked what I was on about. So I simply told him I wasn't. He looked as if I had just sucked in his food. He then went on about how bad the situation was and that he really was sorry for all the things we did to each other growing up. Like, excuse me, what did we do to each other? I told him that I just wanted a brother growing up who cared and loved me and wouldn't try to break me every day for 18 years. He then called in our mom and dad and told them that I wasn't going to give up my kidney. They then started to spout off that I owed them for my existence and that I have a duty to look after family. I asked them where that duty was when they kicked me out of the house, where that duty was every time my brother gave me a black eye, or where their duty was to look after their grandchild when Sebastian decided he didn't want to be a father. Said for all the things he has done from outing me to having an affair with my girlfriend and abandoning his child, that this was the universe's and my way of finally giving back what he dished out to bite him in the. I then turned around and walked out of the room, knowing that was the last time I ever saw Sebastian again. I'm not sure why they would want a FS kidney anyway. I walked past my sister, who gave me a look. I gave her a look back, and she then in turn gave me a look that said, I understand. After leaving the hospital, I felt as if a great weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I went home and never looked back, pleased with my decision. Last week, I got a call from my sister to inform me that Sebastian had died. She asked if I was okay, and I said I was, that I didn't really feel anything. In all honesty, she said she understood to a degree, as Sebastian hadn't been all that kind to her over the years either. I had my husband and Isaac there to support me. Honestly, at this point, Isaac may as well be our adopted child, since he has lived with us until this whole situation with the world is over. The next day, I was getting calls and texts from family members I hadn't spoken to in years, telling me that I was going to hell for being a bad son, a bad brother, and AF, and that me and my husband don't deserve children. Hubby and I have been looking into adoption and surrogacy. This makes me second-guess my choice to not give my brother my kidney in death, making things harder for me. I did wonder if I was a bad person and if I made the wrong decision, but I knew that if I were in that position, I would have been left for dead. Screw him. Other bits of information that may clear things up: his renal failure was from living a hardcore lifestyle of drugs and alcohol. My folks and sister did get themselves tested to see if they were matches, and none of them were. I disowned them for being my family years ago, apart from Jane. So when I got married, I took my husband's last name and hyphenated it with Isaac's last name, which his folks were very pleased about. Some family members, Kai's folks, and my dad's brother have actually called to see how I'm doing and say they don't judge me for what happened. Others, however, have continued with said abuse, whom I have now blocked. If he had been a good brother throughout my life, I'd have done it without a second thought. I'd have done the same for Jane, Kai, Isaac, and my husband. But I felt he didn't deserve it. It's unlikely I'll ever see my parents again, and I'll make sure my children never meet them. My revenge on them will be to be a better parent than they ever were. Final note: I didn't donate my kidney to my evil brother due to him being awful to me my whole life, having an affair with my girlfriend, and then outing me and convincing my family to disown me because I'm bisexual. Update: additional narcissistic behavior since posting about my twin story and how my family blamed me. People complained about my folks. I figured I'd mention other stuff they pulled. They would never come to my hockey games or school plays, but would always go to my brother's rugby matches. They refused to attend my sister's wedding because she was getting married to an Indian man. That dude is the best brother-in-law ever and a brilliant father to my nephews. At least I didn't have to see them at my sister's wedding, and I got to walk her down the aisle. Now my sister has very low contact with them. When they kicked me out for being bisexual on my brother's orders, they also called up my best friend's mother, who was housing me, and told her to kick me out too. She told my mother to do a running jump. they'd give my brother more money for doing housework simply because they liked his personality more. The first time they ever kicked me out was when I was 14, because I no longer believed in God anymore, and was sent to stay with my uncle for a few weeks. This is what really prompted me to make this post. Yesterday, I got a call from my mother saying that she heard I was going to be adopting twins, and she decided that she and my dad should get one of them to replace the son, my twin, that they lost due to my evil actions. I told her to get F'd. Do I have grounds for a restraining order? I have no idea why they want to bother me or why they have hated me my whole life. To parents everywhere, be loving to your children. Here are my thoughts on the story. This story isn't just about kidney karmits, a masterclass in toxic family dynamics. The audacity of parents who disown their son for being bi, then demand his organ like it's a spare part for their golden child. Chef's kiss. Real twist. Sebastian's kidney failure was self-inflicted, while Ryan built a loving, chosen family. The universe didn't just close this door, it welded it shut and painted good riddance in glitter. Moral of the story. Narcissists will literally die mad about consequences. Cue dramatic mic drop now. Chat, would you have donated that kidney? Or would you, like Ryan, let karma handle the eviction notice? Now let's move on to our next story. I realized my husband had abused me for years after he continued to abuse me even when I was unresponsive, so I took her children and left him. We were in bed last night, and I was almost asleep when he started having sex with me. I was pretty unaroused and tired, so I didn't react or make any sound. I don't have a problem having sex late at night and don't require verbal asking for permission. It just started feeling odd after the 2-minute mark when he was still going, and I hadn't made a single sound. I sort of dissociated, thinking how weird it was, and eventually just told him to stop and went to the bathroom. I'm not a man, obviously, but I feel like I probably wouldn't be into having sex with someone who wasn't into it or remotely receptive. Is this common with men? I explained that it felt weird when I came back to bed, and he said, "Oh, sorry. How do I go about dealing with this? It seems so bizarre." Edit was in therapy a few months ago after having a series of panic attacks during sex because I got triggered by something and couldn't bring myself to say no for some reason. He knows about this, so it feels somewhat relevant that he kept going anyway without stopping to ask if I was okay. Edit again. I made it crystal clear I was unhappy with what happened before I left the bedroom and wasn't remotely happy about it. My parting words were, "That was weird. I'm a human being, not a Fing flashlight." What the F was that? Added comments. Commenter. I usually just lurk, but I've had this happen in 2 previous relationships, both long-term partners. The first began when I was inexperienced and didn't know whether it was normal or not. That relationship was abusive, in a lot of ways, controlling, manipulative, emotional, and had an unhealthy power dynamic. I didn't realize it until very late and I left the relationship. He checked all the narcissist boxes. The second was similar, although not abusive, or at least I wouldn't call it that. He also seemed to think consent was granted. I was in a kind of dark place though, and probably rebounded with him. I did explain to him that I felt uncomfortable with him just having sex with me while I was semi-asleep, or just not into it, and that it felt none. He later tried to pressure me into other things I wasn't comfortable with, and I ended the relationship for various reasons, that being one. Again, he wasn't the nicest guy, and I feel like that might be a pattern. It sounds like this. Might be more than just a sex problem. Sorry, you're going update. So he came home and said he wanted to find a way to resolve the situation. I asked him what the situation was, and he said he didn't know a common theme. I explained frustratedly that I felt for months that I'm putting more into the relationship than him and only receiving the bare minimum. He cut me off multiple times, nitpicking random points, then eventually started raising his voice like, always. I told him not to, and he stormed out of the room. Eventually, he stormed back in and said it was bull, and that it's pretty effing rich to be saying he's doing the bare minimum. Didn't get me a Mother's Day card. Didn't comfort me when I was upset the other day. I've been asking for small gestures, like picking a flower off a tree on his way home for months, still haven't got one. In response, I said, it feels a bit rich to be so defensive and focus on one specific detail of a point I'd barely started making. When I've been searching for support on Reddit all day, while a bunch of strangers dissect whether I got assaulted or not, he just lost his mind and started yelling at me about how I can go on Reddit with my little keyboard warriors. And he doesn't give a F because I said he does the bare minimum. Then he slammed the door and turned all the lights off outside, so I guess he's sleeping on the couch. Update 2. He just got home, gave me flowers. He'd picked off a tree and said he was sorry for the way he dealt with his anger. We don't have time to talk because the kids are destroying the house, so I'll post another update when they're asleep and we've spoken. I'm not stupid. Those sunflowers and a 1-second apology are the bare minimum. Update 3. Kids went to bed. He sat on the couch watching YouTube videos for 3 hours and didn't say a word to me. Then he came into the bedroom and said, "I'm going to bed." I told him I'm done planning the vow renewal ceremony. I've been planning entirely by myself for months that he wanted, and if he cares so much, he can do it all himself. He won't. He can't. Then I left the room, and he closed the door and went to bed. That's it. No surprises, just the bare minimum. Final update. I feel like blindfolds have been ripped off my eyes, and I suddenly see all these details of prior events, and I'm just reeling. Like one time, I think he might have semi-assaulted me when he had complete emotional leverage over me and knew it, and I felt I literally couldn't say no. He came inside me without asking, and I just burst into tears afterwards. Ended up with a chemical pregnancy, and it was awful. I could go on and on and on, shell-shocked. Someone on here sent me a link to an ebook about abuse, and there were so many things in it describing his behavior, and I just feel like a thing. Idiot. The time he pinned me to the floor by my shoulders and screamed in my face while our baby was watching. The time he called me a fat BPOSTPAR2UM. The time I found out while pregnant that he cheated on me prior and multiple times. I could just go on. I'll probably be deleting my account in the morning. I just can't take it anymore. Thanks for the advice. Don't be a effing idiot like me. Added comments. Commenter. Whatever you do, if you're staying for the kids, don't. Get that out of your head. Your kids will grow up seeing the way dad treats mom and thinking that's okay. Do you want your kids to grow up thinking that way? That's how marriage and love should be. Oh, I left him a couple of years ago and took the kids with me, suddenly feeling strangely similar to how life was before that happened.